Hello, my name is Danni Washington. I'm a television host, science communicator, and ocean advocate. And I've been working in this space of water consciousness and connecting more people with water for my entire life. And I'm so honored to be here with you today to share a little bit about why I think your relationship with water is incredibly important. So to kick us off, I would love for you to take a moment, close your eyes, and think about your fondest memory, positive memory, that you had, whether you were a child or as an adult, immersed in water. Was it when you were at a pool party with some of your closest friends? Or maybe it was a picnic on a riverbank, a family day at the beach, or perhaps a warm bubble bath at home in your own tub. What was your state of mind in that moment? How did your body feel? Think about the sensations that went through your entire being as you were immersed in water. I know for me, one of my fondest memories was diving in Papua New Guinea back in 2012 for a project. It was the wildest place I'd ever been in my entire life. Not much human activity, lots of wilderness and wildlife, and I felt completely just immersed in this world that I love so much, which is underwater. The feeling of jumping into the water as a diver is incredible. You either do something called a back roll or you do the giant leap where you step forward with one foot and you just fall into the water. I'd have to say I personally love the back roll the most because to me it's like I'm transitioning into another world, and the disorientation that I feel from falling backwards helps me get into the flow state immediately. And I'm sure many of you have heard of that term, being in flow state or in flow, where you forget time, you forget space, and you're just in the moment. And I feel that every single time I go scuba diving. Now, I bring this up because water, in my opinion, is a humbling element. When you're in the ocean especially, you recognize how tiny you really are in this vast world that we live in. And it puts things in perspective. But when we think about water as an element in its purest state, it's actually very unusual. It's composed of two elements, oxygen and hydrogen. Scientists consider it very sticky because it's able to bond together really well, and it also bonds with other things in our world. But again, in its purest state, it has no calories, it's inorganic, it's tasteless, it's odorless, and it's colorless. But it's also the only natural substance found in all three states of matter. Once water interacts with the other components of our planet, minerals and other substances, it goes through a transformation, and it also transforms everything it touches. But one of the best things, I think, when I ponder water, I think that the duality of water is what stands out the most. It has the power to nourish, and it has the power to support life, while also having the power to destroy. When I reflect on that duality, I think of human behavior. I think each of us, as people, have the power to create good or cause harm, and it's a choice that we make every single day we wake up. But in that same vein, water is also the great equalizer. It connects us all, 7+ billion of us and counting. Every single drop that we interact with matters. For example, if you were to consume a single drop of contaminated water, you could be hospitalized or even die. But we see that access to clean water, healthy water, is still a struggle for so many people across the world. And in terms of the climate crisis, we know that water plays a key role in these impacts. When we look at the flash floods that just happened in the New York State area, or the superstorm Hurricane Ida, which just hit the Gulf, we're reminded of this power, the power of water. But I also think when we talk about contamination and how human behaviors are continually putting new things into water that are harmful for us as well as other living beings, that's something to take into consideration. Usually when I think about water contamination, I not only think about pathogens, but I also think about plastic marine debris. This is a big part of the work that I do in the world, and hoping to raise more awareness and more ideas on how we can shift out of using this material that was designed so perfectly that now we're having a hard time managing, but also to consider our own personal daily habits and how much single-use plastic we consume. I usually think about also my friend Christine Figener. She's a marine biologist who works in Costa Rica, and she was the one who helped amplify and was on that vessel the day that they found a sea turtle with a straw lodged in its nostril. Now, in the grand scheme of things, when you think about one single plastic straw in our massive ocean, it seems like just a speck of importance. But that video changed the narrative. That video connected human beings to other living beings and showed the way that our behavior is directly impacting them. But I also think that video sparked deep empathy. Seeing something else suffer at the hands of our simple habits, whether it was somebody drinking a pina colada that decided to leave their straw on the beach, or someone threw it off a vessel. Who knows where that straw came from? But the bottom line is, these things don't have to happen. And I believe that clean water is a basic human right, also a basic right for all living things on planet Earth. But again, that hasn't been the case for so many people and so many animals. And we see that 9 times out of 10, communities of color are disproportionately impacted by these negative results of contaminated water. And it shows us that we really have to pay attention to what's next. How do we clean up the mess that we've made? How do we transform the way that we relate to water every single day? Because it's not only an equalizer, but it's also a great unifier. And it holds the key, the solutions that we need right now to some of our biggest challenges. On a singular level, I would say clean water has countless health benefits for the individual human. Whether you're consuming it, whether you're bathing in it, whether you're swimming in it, the possibilities are endless there. And then on a broader scale, the ocean, which covers the majority of our planet, is a source of infinite solutions and hope for mitigating climate change. Marine coastal ecosystems are incredibly powerful. It's the area where land meets the sea, and it's where we meet the sea as well as human beings. And these ecosystems are some of the most productive on the planet. Seagrass meadows, mangrove forests, tidal marshes, and kelp forests are all able to sequester massive amounts of blue carbon in the sediment and in the plants within that ecosystem. And I personally love marine ecosystems along the coast, especially mangrove forests and seagrass beds. As a child who grew up in Miami, I spent a lot of time exploring those areas, snorkeling through the mangrove forests, looking for baby fish, as well as other invertebrates. And it was an incredible experience because it's like a magical, enchanted forest. And within the seagrass meadows, well, you'll find lots of mollusks, stingrays, other species of fish, and it's just a wonderland, a beautiful playground for all of us to explore. But this is our time to move quickly. If we can restore these blue carbon ecosystems, we can find a way to help mitigate the current climate crisis in a more rapid way than we probably expected. It's important that we start now. And the good news is that it's accessible because it's where the sea meets the land. But first, we have to also acknowledge the fact that many people who could serve as volunteers, who could help create this restoration, well, they have to overcome their fear of water first. And that's where our relationships with water come in. And so I encourage you today to think about your relationship with water. And how can you create a stronger bond? If you have some fear about water, then how can you overcome that fear? What are some things that you can take on today and to recognize how wonderful that relationship can truly be? So let's continue to build on that. And when you build on your relationship with water, we recognize also that it's an essential part of the human experience. And I believe it surely holds the key to our future.